Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Today, we will be talking about deep learning, and we'll be having this third session of this course on AI and ML for geodata analysis. I'm Dr. Poonam Seth Tiwari. So, today we will be talking about deep learning. Yesterday, we had discussed about the machine learning and the various algorithms that are available for machine learning. What are different type of machine learning: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement, semi-supervised, and a few examples of uh, in which cases we should use machine learning. Now, the next step is the deep learning. So, first of all, we should try to understand what is deep learning. So, basically, the computer vision, because in deep learning we this computer vision is very, very important. Computer vision has been a primary area of interest for machine learning application. Now, within the computer vision, we have the tasks such as classification. That means if I say that this particular image is a cat, so this can be termed as classification. Now, we can for some applications we can also want to exactly know where the cat is located. So if I label it as cat and also mark a boundary, and not me but the software marks a boundary around the cat, this is called as classification and localization. Here we are talking only about single object, but in an image we can have different objects also, and we can be interested in multiple objects. So you can have object detection of multiple objects. So it will localize, it will put the boundaries around each and every object and label it also, such as this red rectangle stands for cat, blue stands for dog, and green stands for duck. But this may also not be sufficient, because for some applications we would like to know exactly how many pixels this cat is covering, or means how big is the cat, what is the size of the cat. So I would like to know exact boundary of the cat or dog or any of our object of interest. So that comes under segmentation. So all of these problems in computer vision, they are effectively uh, done using deep learning algorithms. Okay, so today we will be talking what is deep learning. Now, as you have seen in machine algorithm, we were using algorithms which were learning on their own, but sometimes they needed human intervention also. In deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Now, in deep learning, we are having multiple layers of processes. Multiple layers of processes are there, and these layers progressively extract higher level features from the raw input image. So now, uh, from the first layer, some basic features means identifying parameters, they will be extracted. In the second layer, some other improvement will be done. Third layer, something would be done, and finally by the time we reach the output layer, it would be giving us the final results. Now, each level in case of deep learning learns to transform its input data in a slightly more abstract and composite representation. So it takes the input from the previous layer, does some processing, and sends the processed results to the next layer. In our case, in case of geodata analysis, our raw input data is generally image, and these images are matrix of pixels. So the first layer that we have is mainly the pixels, the information about the pixels. And the final layer, so this would be called as the input layer. So here you can see the red circles are the input layer, and the blue circles are the output layer, which will define the output class. Suppose I am doing a land use land cover classification, so the blue circles would be urban or whatever classes I want to extract from my data. And in between we can have multiple single or multiple these hidden layers or intermediate layers. And they, now how they do the processing, how do the things get channeled here. So we will be talking about this. Deep learning can learn with features to optimally place in which level on its own. So this is what is deep learning. And in machine learning, we are using algorithms that learns on its own, but they might need human intervention to correct the errors. In deep learning, the advanced computation is done based on neural networks. Now, um, first of all, we'll talk about this and then we'll go to neural networks. So, we have already said that the deep learning, successive layers go on learning or extracting the features. Okay. So, as suppose we have given a image of the cat. So in the first layer, it will learn low level features, then it will learn mid level features, then it will learn high level features, then it will have the learn classifier, and finally it will give me the result. So how is a human identifying a cat? We tell our children that this particular creature is a cat. So as the for multiple times we are telling that this is a cat, this is a cat, this is a cat. So we are training, we are giving the training. We are not telling the child that the cat will have two eyes, two ears, it will have one nose, it will have one mouth and mustaches. So all that we are not telling. So in the same manner, we are not providing this information or any of this features to our deep learning algorithm. So let means what the algorithm must be doing is that it might be identifying such type of features, and later on when we are giving an unknown image to it, it is able to identify whether it is a cat or not. Okay. So what are low level features, what are mid level features, what are high level features, you can see here. Mid-level features, low-level features can be simple edges. Here you can see the edges are taken out. The edge pixels are in the middle level. The edge pixels are fused together, are combined together to form certain bigger objects, and then finally in the high level features you can see the entire fan or entire table, entire window, everything is made using the lower level features. Lower level features in this case was the edges. Okay. So in this manner it is able to means the successively it goes on learning and doing. So why is deep learning useful? Deep learning provides a flexible learnable framework for representing visual, that means images, text, or any kind of text can be put, as well as linguistic information, that means the audio clips, the visual clips, everything can be done using deep learning. So it can learn in supervised as well as unsupervised manner. This deep learning represents an effective end-to-end learning system. It requires a large amount of training data. So nowadays you must be knowing that we are having uh, a large amount of data. So data blast is happening. So uh, you you can, I mean, some 15, 20 years back, getting a high resolution satellite imagery was so difficult. Nowadays, you can get uh, means so many images are available, and that too at such a limited cost. So so many satellites are there, so much data is available. So we have lot of training, a lot of data, and that data can be utilized only if we are using deep learning algorithms. uh, when the amount of data is very large, then machine learning would not give us, means the machine learning algorithms will not give us very good results. So we have to move towards deep learning algorithms. So since about 2010, deep learning has outperformed other machine learning techniques. So earlier it was done in case of vision and speech, then then natural language processing and other applications. Okay. Now, before going into the details of deep learning, because deep learning will always, these deep learning architectures will contain the neural network, neural layers, fully connected neural layers. So, prior to going there, we should try to understand what is neural network. So, this is artificial neural network, ANN. An artificial neural network consists of a pool of simple processing units which communicate by sending signals to each other over a large number of weighted connections. So now neural networks, artificial neural network takes its clues from the human nervous system, biological neurons. Now, if there are any biology students, they would be able to remember that our nervous system has, means our nerves are made up of uh, neurons. Neurons are single cells of nerves. And these neurons, in this neuron, there is one cell body, uh, and lot of connections, lot of these structures are there, which we call as dendrites. One of the dendrite gets elongated and we call it as axon, and using axon it gets connected uh, to the new to the neuron of the next layer, and from dendrites it is connected to neuron of the previous layer. So dendrite connects to neuron of the previous layer and axon connects to neuron of the next layer. So what is happening? The information is coming from one neuron. It reaches, suppose the information from all the dendrites, from all the neurons from which it is connected, uh, is coming into the cell body. In the cell body, it assembles all the information, and only if the information is above a certain level threshold, then only it will pass to the next level, or it will not pass, because there may be some noises also. Okay. So in the same manner, the artificial neuron is also uh, created. In the artificial neuron, we have a cell body, and this artificial neuron is connected to the neurons of its previous layer and neurons of its successive layer also. Now, the cell body, the neuron, takes the information from all the neurons from which to which it is connected. So it is, suppose the X is the information. Uh, okay, and W is the weight. Here we are giving weight also. So X multiplied by W, X1 multiplied by W1, X2 multiplied by W2, so on. It will go on summing all the information coming from all the neurons. It will add up certain parameter which we call as bias. And then if this entire value is above a certain threshold, then this neuron gets lit up. Lit up means it becomes activated. So there is certain some parameter called as activation function also. We'll not talk about it. So if it is activated, then it will pass on this information to the next, to the neuron of the next layer. And in the next layer, again, it is getting the information from all the neurons, and then it will sum it up, do the processing, and pass it on to the next layer. So in this manner, the data provides each node with information in form of input. The node multiplies the input with random weights, calculates them, and adds the bias and passes it on to the next neuron. So now these nodes are stacked next to each other, basically there should be minimum of three layers. One layer is input layer, the first layer that directly accepts the data values, the real data values, the input values. The output layer is the final estimate, final output, and in between we have the hidden layers. In the hidden layers, the number of hidden layers, how many number of hidden layers would be there, how many nodes would be there in these hidden layers, that all can be changed. The and each neuron is connected to all the neurons in the successive layer. So you can see this neuron is connected to all the neurons in the next layer. So in the next layer, this the first neuron is connected to all the neurons in the second layer. Like this, all the neurons are connected to all the neurons in the next layer, and the connections are the weights. We call them weights. Okay. Now, how does it work? Suppose I'll try to explain this problem with a very common example, and that common example is identifying the handwritten numbers. Now, how many numbers can be there? There can be total of nine numbers: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All the other numbers will be a combination of these numbers only. Okay, 0, 1, 2, and so on. Okay. Now, every person has a different handwriting. Suppose if we say that means someone writes three in this form, someone writes three in this form, but our human brain is uh, able to identify all of them as three. So how is it? How is our brain able to identify? In the same manner, we will try to make our neural network so that it is able to identify the different digits. Okay. Now, if you look at any of this number, okay, image of any of this number, you will see that the black portion means no data, zero value. Okay. And where it is written, it is value 1. Okay, so the central part you can see is value 1, all the white portion, and in between 0 and 1 there can be some means where the ink leaks out, but it is not very clear. So in that area you have values 0 0.5, 0 0.7, 0 0.3, and so on. Okay, so this is how, if you zoom any of these images, it will look like. Okay. Now, how does the neural network that we have selected uh, looks like? Okay, what is the structural component of the neural network? So what we have done is we have already fixed that, okay, my output could have these many numbers, nine numbers. So in the output nodes, there will be, in output layer, there will be nine nodes, that is fixed. Okay. The input, as we have already said, that we have to take our image as an input. Every pixel, the pixel information has to come here. So now, whatever are the number of pixels in my image, so what we the image that we have taken is 28 by 28 pixel. So 28 by 28 pixel means 784 pixels in totality are there in the image. So the input layer will have 784 neurons. You can see here, these are 784 neurons. And in between, we have taken two hidden layers. Okay. We have taken two hidden layers. Now, as I have shown you in the previous image, the black portion is having zero value. Okay. And the white portion is having value 1, and in between, some pixels are having value 0 0.3, 0 0.4, and so on. Now, if you look at any of the node of the first layer, it is connected to all the nodes of the second layer. Now, the first pixel is not having any information. It is black in color. Okay. So black 0 multiplied by any weight would give me a 0 only. So that information it is going to transfer to all the nodes. The nodes of the second layer are getting information from all the nodes of the first layer, and it is doing some summing up, some multiplication, and then it is seeing whether the uh, node brightens up or activates or not. In this manner, the information is passed on. Okay. So you can see here, I have explained it in detail. So these are my number of pixels. These are 28 pixels by 28 pixels. So a total of 784 pixels. So the input layer would have 784 neurons. So the input layer, it holds number that represent grayscale value of the corresponding pixel. So in our case, our pixel values are from 0 to 1. So it should be able to, sorry, hold values from 0 to 1. Now, this number is known as activation number. Neuron is lit up if it has high activation number. So above a certain threshold, if it has, then it becomes, it lights up. So 784 neurons make first layer of the network. Now next we should look at the output. Output will have 10 neurons. Sorry, 9 is I think black in color, so they're not seen here. It has 10 neurons. Each neuron represent one number. So activation number represents correspondence between given image with the digit, and the in between we have hidden layers. The number of layers and neurons can be arbitrarily chosen. Activation in one layer determine the activation in the next layer. Now, what is happening? We don't know is how it is identifying. Now, how we are identifying any of these handwritten numbers. Suppose we are talking about number 9. Number 9, whoever writes it, it will have one circle and one straight line. So this is means this has to be there. If there is number 8, even if it is tilted or straight, the line is a little curvaceous or something, but it will have one circle and one line. The number 8 will have two circles. Like this, you have, means our brain and also the neural network is able to understand that, okay, if there is one circle and one line, that means it is number 9. Okay. So in the what happens here, what the middle layers are doing, we'll see how it is doing. So before that, let us see that how the data is passed from one layer to the other, or what we can say is how activation in one layer affects the next layer. So when we are feeding the image, we have feeded 28 by 28 image. So all the 784 neurons have got some input data. Some of that would have data, some of them would not have data based on the pixel value of the input image. Now this pattern of activation, it causes a very specific pattern of activation in the next layer based on the activation in the first layer multiplied by the weight function. Now the second layer activation causes a very specific pattern in the third layer and final layer, and so on. And in the final layer, the brightest neuron of the output network is the network's choice for digit represented in the image. Now, what is happening in the middle layers? In the middle layers, as we have already discussed, that um, small sub features are, we have understood that these are the features for number 9. One circle and one straight line should be there. So middle layers are making these sub features. So each neuron in second to last layer corresponds to one of these sub features. Here you can see. So one neuron would be for circle, one neuron for straight line, one neuron for, that means these sub features would be, it is going on making these sub features based on the pixel values. Now which combination of sub features is lit up tells me what neuron would be lit up uh, in the output layer. So sub features, how sub features are made? By identifying the small edges. The first layer starts extracting edges. The second layer further improves those edges, and so on. So you can see here. So in the 784 neurons, they are given the image. So in the first, maybe first hidden layer, it is making small these edges. It has extracted the edges. Now based on the connectivity of edges, it will form that this is a circle and this is a line. So a number means a neuron for circle and line has been lit up. Okay, you can see the first neuron was for circle, the third neuron was for line. Okay, sorry. So the first neuron and the third neuron have lit up, so circle and line. So when we say that it is a circle and line, immediately based on this combination, the number 9 neuron in the output layer gets lit up. Okay, this is how it is identifying the features. Now, how means what do we understand by training of this network? How do we means how are we doing the training of the network? Because we have all read about the training of the network. Okay, so what we do is in the beginning, when we have taken the network, so we take a large number of examples of these numbers and that what this digit represents. Suppose the image is a 9 and we say that this is 9 number. Labeled images we are putting for all the numbers, a large number of. Okay, so we are training. Now it has the input data, it has the output data. So based on input and output, what it will do is it will adjust the weights of the intermediate and layers, weights of these layers. That means the connections, it is making it more tight or more loose, something of that sort. We can understand. Okay, so the weights and biases, it is adjusting based on our training data. In the testing data, it will check whether the weights and biases are correct. So for the testing images, it is giving good results or not. Okay, once my model is giving me good results, then I can say that okay, my model is now trained, and now whenever we input any new image, unknown image, it will predict the output. Okay. Oh, now you have understood that every neuron in one layer is connected to all the neurons of the next layer. And then it has every layer of the neuron has some bias also. Okay, so how many weights it has to adjust while training? Let us look at this also. Initially, it will take random weights and biases. So when we are providing the training data, how many weights it will take? It will, our input image has 784 neurons. The second layer has 16 neurons. The third layer has also 16 neurons, and the final layer has 10 neurons. Okay. Now 784 neurons are connected with 16 neurons. So 784 multiplied by 16. Then these 16 are connected to 16 of the next neuron, next layer. So 16 multiplied by 16. Then these 16 are connected with the 10 neurons of the uh, output layers. So 16 into 10. These many number of weights have to be adjusted. We cannot stop here. We also have some biases also. So bias for the this layer, for second layer is 16 number of biases, then 16 number of biases, and then 10 number of biases. So all this entire value, that means when you sum it up, it comes down to around 13,000 weights and biases that have to be adjusted. So you that is why large amount of training data is required. Okay, so so much calculations it has to perform. Now, these are different type of deep learning algorithms. We have CNN, RNN, GAN, then deep belief networks, and multi-layer perceptrons, then LSTMs are there. Now, what is this CNN and why do we require this CNN? Okay, so we have just now said that large number of weights and biases have to be adjusted, and mind you that the image size that we have taken was only 28 pixel by 28 pixel. In case of remote sensing images or bigger images, we have more than 4000 pixels by 4000 pixels. So just try to imagine how many number of weights and biases have to be adjusted. So which becomes a really difficult task. So this is the curse of dimensionality. That is why people came up with a solution, and that solution is convolutional neural network. Okay, so we are talking basically about images. So I'm taking this CNN in detail. Now, when we are dealing with fully connected neural network, as you have seen in the previous example, when every neuron is in given layer is connected to every neuron in the next layer, so it will have lot many number of parameters, and the order of our features also doesn't matter. So now what will happen is adjustment of these many number of parameters becomes very difficult. So we cannot provide that much amount of training. So what we can do is, instead of that, you can see here what they said is that why not divide the image into certain areas. Now here, let us say this is a 4 by 4 pixel, 4 pixel by 4 pixel image. Okay, so the red uh, corner, the first pixel of the red corner would have nothing to do with the last pixel, that is the yellow corner. So why should this neuron be connected with the yellow neuron? Okay, so means something of that sort they have tried to identify that. Okay, one area pixels will be connected to one neuron, one area pixels will be connected to one neuron, and so on, which reduces the number of parameters. This is uh, just a descriptive explanation. In uh, in reality, what happens is that in CNN are designed mainly for image data. Now, in CNN, we use convolutional filters. Now, those who have worked in image processing, they must be knowing about filters, convolution operation or filters. So, the convolution filter is a odd numbered matrix, and it has certain values also. Now, when we pass this filter over the original image, we get the convolved features. Okay. Like, if you remember, if you have read about image processing, you must be knowing about edge extraction. So in edge extraction, we do this only. We do the convolution filtering. Okay. So now this convolved feature is giving me lot of information about the image, whereas its size is reduced. So it is efficient to train also, and have less parameters than fully connected neural network. Okay, so we take this filter. Suppose this is the input image. The computer sees it like the numbers only. And when we take a filter and pass it over the image, okay, you get the convolved image. Okay, now this convolved image has a lot of meaning, has a lot of information. Okay, so why should I use this original input image when I can have large means multiple convolved images, convolution images, and I can have this information content also. So instead of or using only one filter, we can have multiple filters so that multiple type of information is extracted from my data. So whatever is the number of images, number of filters that we are using, we are going to say that my image will have those many number of parameters. Okay. So you can say instead of having only one thing, we can use the other filter also. Okay. So here again, it is using the filter. Now, this was basically how it is done. In the CNN, the architecture is not very simple. It has large number of layers because it is a deep neural network. So it has to be deep means large number of layers are there. So the convolutional neural network consists of the input layer. Input would be our image that is there, and output layer. Output is a layer is always the classes that we are going to identify. In the convolution CNN, the hidden layers are there. Some hidden layers which are convolution layers, the filters that we are applying. Then we want to reduce the size of these layers also. So we use some operation called as pooling. Okay, so convolution pooling, convolution pooling, convolution pooling. So like this, we go on repeating it. At the end, always, because this is all done in two-dimensional space. At the end, we are always doing it, means flattening our data into a one-dimensional space where fully connected neural network last layers will be the fully connected neural network. So the classification is done using fully connected neural network. The feature extraction and all those things can be done using convolution and pooling layers. Okay. So in CNN also we are using fully connected layers, fully connected neural networks that we have discussed just now. But the only thing is that the only the last few layers are fully connected. Rest all are convolution and pooling layers. So we have these convolution layers. So convolution means to pass over the data, and convolution filters or kernels are defined by height and width of the filter, the number of input channels and output channels. All this comes under hyperparameters. So you must have read a term hyperparameter tuning. So all these are hyperparameters. The depth of convolution filters, the hyperparameters of convolution operation like padding, stride, size and stride. We will not go into these details because as itself the time is very limited, and the material means too many things are there to discuss. Now, what do we understand by features? Features means how many convolution layers are there. So if we are using the one input means three input channel, whatever number of convolution layers we are generating, they are called as features in CNN. So now we are not bothered about what is the size of the image. We are bothered about how many number of features are there or how many number of parameters are there. Then we have seen that convolution pooling, we are using this in the architecture. So now what is pooling? Pooling is how to reduce the number of parameters. So it aggregates the data usually by using the maximum or average of a window of pixels. Suppose this is my input. I can have maximum pooling or average pooling. So maximum means out of these four, whichever is maximum value, I can put that only. So 20, whichever is maximum 30. In the average pooling, we will take an average of all these four pixels. Okay. So convolution and then pooling will give me a reduced size image. Finally, once all this is done, we have to flatten our network. flatten our network means we have to convert all of it in terms of fully connected layer. So because eventually we are going to do the classification or regression, so for that we will be using fully connected layers. Okay. So classification is finally done using fully connected layer. In fully connected layers, connect every neuron in one layer to every neuron in another layer. As we have already discussed, it is same as traditional multi-layered perceptron. The flattened matrix goes through a fully connected layer to classify the images. The flattened output is fed to a feed-forward neural network and back propagation applied to every iteration of training. Over a series of epochs, the model is able to distinguish between dominating and certain low-level features in image and classify. Okay. So basically, there are two types of parameters in machine learning. One is machine learnable parameters. That means the parameters that the algorithm learn or estimate on their own. So these parameters are the weights and matrices, weights and biases. Then we have hyperparameters are the variables that machine learning engineers or data scientists provide precise values to regulate how algorithms learn and modify the model's performance. So the hyperparameters, different hyperparameters are learning rate, excuse me, learning rate, epochs, uh, learning rate means how the neural network is learning or is updating its parameters. So it regulates the weights of neural network concerning the loss gradient. A desirable learning rate should be low enough for the network to converge on our output while it should not be very low. If it is very low, that it might not convert. So it has to be high enough so that it can be trained in a reasonable length of time. When we are giving smaller learning rate, that means number of training epochs becomes very large. On the fewer hand, larger learning rates result in faster changes and maybe missing out uh, certain details. Then the second hyperparameter is epoch. How many number of times the or how many number of passes the entire training data set the machine learning algorithm will complete. Okay. Then we have loss function, optimizer. Loss function means the difference between target and predicted output value. So how much can be the expected loss function. Loss function is a function that compares the target and predicted output values and measures how well the neural network models the training data. Then we have optimizers. Optimizers are the optimizer algorithms are there which optimize the um, improve the deep learning models performance. So there are various type of optimizers available. So that is also one of the hyperparameter. Optimizer helps in reducing the overall loss and improving the accuracy. Now, once my model is trained, we have to test. We have to evaluate our model whether the model is well trained or is it giving good results or not. So the do the model evaluation, our data has to be splitted into training and testing data. Uh, if the model performs well on both training and testing data, then the model is said to be successful model. If the on the training data it is giving very good results, but on testing data it is not giving good results, then we say that it is overfitting. You can see here. The overfitting is less error in the training data, more error in the testing data. So less bias and more variance. Uh, so you can see overfitting. It has gone fitting into each and every detail of the data set. But when you provide the testing data, it will not give you good results. So underfitting means it is giving more error in testing as well as training. A good model should be a best fit model which gives less bias and less variance. Okay. Okay, so now always it is not possible to have a large amount of data, training data. So there is a step, that is data augmentation. It is the simplest way to reduce overfitting to increase the size of training data. Now, the augmentation can be done using rotating, changing the scale, shear. So you can see, shifting the image, shifting the number, shifting the feature. Uh, then sharing means rotating it, then changing the scale, rotating and changing the scale. So like this, you can go on creating uh, or having more amount of training data. So once your model is ready and doing the classification, you have to means evaluate the model for its accuracy. So in the classification model, either the model is correctly predicting or incorrect prediction. So we can have error matrix here also. We uh, we have the true condition, that means in actual what is there and what is predicted condition. So true positive, uh, true negative, that means it has said that the feature is there and it is correct also. So that is true positive. True negative means the models has not reported the feature there, and in reality the feature was not there. So that is true negative. Then false negative means it has not reported the feature, whereas it was there in the reality. False positive, that means it has reported the feature whereas it was not there. So based on all these four parameters, you can calculate recall, precision, and F1 score. Recall is summation of true positive divided by condition positive. That means this sum of true positive and false negative. Then precision is summation of true positive divided by prediction positive, which is the summation of true positive and false positive. F1 score is 2 multiplied by precision into recall divided by precision plus recall. Okay, so these three are the matrix by which you can find out how much is the accuracy of your model. So precision is to identify only the relevant data points in classification. Recall is the ability of model to find all the relevant cases within a data set. And F1 score is harmonic mean of precision and recall. There are various type of CNN architectures available. So I have shown a few of the architectures. So this is architecture of LXNet. This is ResNet, residual networks. Okay. ResNet has two options. You have 34 layer, then 51 layer and 101 layers also. You can see here. This is 34 layer. This is VGG 19. Then this is the architecture of segmentation algorithm UNet, which has encoder and decoder. So such type of architectures are used where the output should be of same size as input image. That means where we are going to do the segmentation. Okay. Then this is again one architecture which is used nowadays, YOLO. So YOLO, various versions of YOLO are there. So it has single neural network trained end to end that takes image as input and predicts bounding boxes and class labels. Then there are RNNs, recurrent neural networks, are used for modeling sequential data, where sequential means every time it is coming. So that sequential data, such as video, text, speech, DNA sequences, all that can be done using RNNs. Then LSTMs, long short-term memory, are a variant of RNN, and These are also means there was one we have not discussed about that vanishing gradient problem. So it handles the vanishing gradient problem also. These are different deep learning frameworks which you can use: TensorFlow, PyTorch, then Cafe, and you can see these are the Keras. Is a high level neural network API included in TensorFlow. Is okay. So and PyTorch is a GPU based tensor library. So that also, these are ones that you can use. Based on the computational complexity, you can say that these are the complex uh, ones, how much accuracy they are giving, and all those things are evaluated. Now, how deep learning is applied in remote sensing data, you can see some of the results that were done in, experiments that were done. So here the problem was to identify the targets. Now, in this case, the targets were aircrafts. So the first objective was to identify how many number, or to count how many number of aircrafts were there, and the second objective was to identify the shape of the aircraft, and finally to check what type of aircraft is there. So for, you can see, ultra high resolution images were used for this particular operate purpose. And mobile net and unet was used for segmentation, and mobile net was used for uh, object detection. Okay, so this is how the segmented results looks like. Then another example is detection and monitoring of bricklins. Bricklin is uh, the places where bricks are the furnaces where bricks are formed, are made. So, and they have a lot of effect on the air pollution, so they need to be monitored. So deep learning based extraction of bricklins. See, in this we they have done the segmentation of the bricklin also. Earlier only object identification, here the segmentation also. Then this is urban feature extraction. So various type of urban features such as buildings, roads, and open green spaces, and all those things are being uh, segmented from the image. So I am showing you a few snapshots. So here you can see we have not trained our network for the dividers. On the divider, you can see it is some plants are they have planted some plants. Okay, so we have not trained our model for this particular feature, but still it is a it has differentiated the road from the divider also. Okay, second thing, you can see in the circle on the crossroad, there is one statue placed. So that also was not trained, but it is able to identify. In some places it is not doing correctly. As number 3, you can see this is a footpath, and it is marking it as built. So same type of features can be found here also. So sometimes it is performing very well, and in some places some errors are there. Okay. This is again the feature extraction in urban environment, when we are using a hybrid object based and CNN approach. So you can see the buildings, different type of buildings, and all those things have been extracted. Ships are also detected in the ocean. The counting has been done, which can be used for maritime surveillance. This is crater detection on lunar surface. using deep learning approach. Then rooftop identification. So similar to what the building extraction is there. So roof identification where the solar panels can be installed. This is again the for segmentation of the crop plants. That means the farm boundaries, the agriculture field boundaries. The target detection, the airplane detection, again car detection, vehicle detection. Okay, so we want to show you that deep learning, machine learning can be used for so many type of applications. So you have to f- look at your particular area of interest, your particular research problem, uh, or operational problem that you are facing, and uh, see how deep learning, machine learning can be applied in your particular domain, because the application can be done in any domain for these particular algorithms. So what we have told you in these three sessions is what are the different type of algorithms, what are the different type of techniques that are available for machine learning and deep learning for geodata analysis. Now in tomorrow and Friday's session, you will be told how these some of these algorithms can be used, uh, can be done. One is on Google Earth Engine and the other one using Python. Okay, so thank you very much for joining in this session.